Well, you can do all those things and so much more. Just grab a seat in the chair or the floor. Sit back, relax, recline. Well, she drops another casual line. You're tuned into Casually Molly with Molly and Bergie.
Welcome back to the Casually Molly podcast, everybody. I am your host, Molly Ambergy, based here in St. Louis, Missouri. We entertain and interview. I was like, I'm going to combine these two words today. That's what happens when you take a couple of weeks off just to do some shows and actually spend time with your family and the people you love. But we are back from Thanksgiving with the funny man himself, Funny Man Fields, Kyle Fields. Give it up for him. The crowd goes wild. That's what
I'll
we
give
have to do.
myself an applause. There we go. I shouldn't have said that. They wouldn't necessarily have to know.
Well, that's what we have to do in this business, guys. If no one else is clapping, you really got to hype yourself up. So, see, I got lipstick on my teeth. Please.
To be fair, even to be in this business, you have to have some sort of mental illness anyway. So I think giving yourself an applause is not. And I say this, people are listening to it going, "Oh my God, what an a-hole!" No, I have my own podcast too. So yeah.
And I'm sorry I just cleaned my teeth on this podcast, but I needed to because we also filmed this. So all good. If you're listening, I had to remove some lipstick off my teeth because Kyle was making me laugh. So
that's fine. I'll tell you what made me laugh. I loved your theme, man. I've not heard that theme before. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Shout out to Darius Varner. He actually made the song. It was a little bit longer when we first made it. And then I just cut it down a little bit just to get us back into the podcast for season 6. But yeah, shout out to him. Good friend, good person. Been on the podcast. Love him to death. Yeah. What do you think our theme is today?
Well, I love it. And it's funny because so I've been in radio, for a long time. I was 18 when I started. I'm 35 now, and I'm still making, upwards of $15,000 a year, not to brag, right? But okay, well, that was silent. That was a little.
Because I moved my hands, but I keep forgetting we also have audio listeners too. So people are like, "Why was there silence?" It's just hand motions. I was a theater major, you guys. I can't help it. Go ahead. So.
No, the point that I was getting at is when you first hear a theme song or you first make a bit or whatever, when you try to do whatever, radio, podcasting, it sounds great. And then if you walk away oftentimes and come back 3 days later, it's like, this is 15 minutes too long. What the hell was I thinking? Mm-hmm. So I can see creating a theme and then it's 5 minutes later, everybody's falling asleep. So I understand that.
Well, thank you. I will tell you, Kyle is so fun. So no one is going to fall asleep or feel like this is going to go 15 minutes too long. Even if it might, we're going to have fun. It's going to be a good time. Kyle, like you mentioned, you've done radio. You started when you were 18 and now you're based out of Springfield, Illinois. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got there?
Well, yeah, look, I think every kid when he starts in radio when he's 18, after 15 years, he wants to wind up in Springfield, Illinois. That's the dream, right? I was a high schooler in Lexington, Kentucky, and I joined a morning show, and I was called Kyle the Intern.
What? You were in Lexington, Kentucky? I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. That was Lexington was never too far. Oh, tri-state area. I love it. But go ahead.
right over the bridge. We've already talked about this. We've had a conversation about chili. It's okay. I'm very forgettable. No, it's funny. I love that I can finally be the person on a high horse because 99 times out of 100, I'm the person who it's like, who are you? And it's like, we used to date, Kyle. Really? Come on. I've got the and I'm like, sir, please. No, I've got the
sir,
worst.
Please, no.
I've got the worst short-term memory ever. So yeah, no, Cincinnati. You love the Skyline chili, right?
Yes, now that conversation I do remember us having. It was about
I'm glad.
Chili.
I'm glad that I'm more forgettable than a bowl of chili. That's what it's all about right there. But No, Lexington, I was 18. I was on the radio. I was called Kyle the intern. I went out it was crazy. I raced homeless people for food. That was a thing that happened. We had a hoax and we said you couldn't smoke in your car. That made international news. It was crazy, but eventually, I hit a wall and I couldn't go any further. And I came here. And really, Springfield, it's the big time. It's the show. That's what they call it in radio. So.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you this too, and I bet you anybody listening or watching this will feel the same way. You have a great voice for radio. Like, I feel like I'm listening into a radio show right now. Like, just take me out of the equation and I could see you hosting a show. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I was interrupting you.
No, it's fine. Honestly, I used to have a much different voice, and then I smoked a pack for 11 years every day. And it took decades off my life, but I think I'm okay now. So,
right.
Yeah.
I think that's what we all feel now going into 2022. I think we're okay. So we'll see.
Did you
we'll
ever
see what happens.
You don't strike me as a smoker. As a cigarette smoker.
I never felt like I don't know, like I've had alcohol, I've tried,
I've had alcohol.
I've had some alcohol. I should say I did have a little too much alcohol for Thanksgiving, but
okay. All right. That
yes.
sounds like you have like a snifter at Christmas time. That's what it sounds like when you say, quote, I've had alcohol.
Well, the reason I say that is I just never had a desire to smoke. And I have nothing against people that do, obviously, but it just it never really occurred to me. But I have people who are like, it's, I love it. So.
What about the devil's lettuce? What about the Chiba? What about the green monster? I got about 15 more. I'm going to take a puff here.
You're just cracking me up. There we go. We got all the names for it. But speaking of some of the names that you were talking about here, you're doing Lexington, Kyle the intern. Tell me a little bit about Illinois, because I think that is the best name. Yes.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that was so. Before I got lost my job because of COVID from the radio station, which happened for a year and a half, and I'm back now.
Yes.
I hadn't really ever messed with video a whole lot, and it was only due to the fact that I'm lazy and I literally have to be forced to do anything at gunpoint, right? But it came to the point where at the radio station, they were like, hey, have you ever thought about this? Let's go out and do it. And I love Conan O'Brien. Like, Conan O'Brien is my hero.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved his man on the street stuff, when he would go out and play the old timey baseball and stuff, right? So I thought, man, I could do this, but with local Illinois stuff, and that's what I did. And I joined a play, or I should say, I auditioned for a play, both as the man and woman. Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, you should check it out. It's a fantastic video in which I emasculate myself completely. But I really had a lot of fun with it. And then I lost my job at radio. And then for a year and a half, I kind of helped make ends meet, obviously through unemployment, which what a racket that is, right? But also, I started making commercials for local car dealerships, and they became stupid and surreal and silly. And that's I get my most joy creatively now out of doing that kind of stuff. I love it.
Yeah, well, I think it's really the reason why I bring that up too, and I will include your website and everything on our quote and everything that we'll do for the interview. But I feel like that ties into you as a comedian, and how, just to give a background, how I met Kyle was we were at the Funny Bone one night in Westport Plaza, and you came up to me because we have a mutual friend, Tony Roper, who has also been a guest on this podcast. Also,
love Tony,
big wig in radio. Shout out to her. And we were talking because you were like, oh, we've got this mutual friend, and I was in radio with her and whatnot. And then I saw you perform, and you were I think that was the first night I saw you do comedy. And I was like, I get how this all kind of ties in together. He's fun in the videos and fun on the stage. Is that, did radio kind of lead you into comedy, or how did it all kind of tie together like that?
100%. So there is a probably much longer, sadder, but kind of sort of happy in the end story involved. But, I love what I figured out is I don't really love radio as much as I love being in front of a microphone, talking and interacting and entertaining people, right?
Mhm.
So I started doing radio when I was 18, and I got paid, and I got fired. And I came back and I worked for free, and then I got paid again, and I got fired. And I came back a third time. And I worked for free again, literally for years. I mean, years. I worked for free. And I woke up 5 days a week. I drove an hour, 3 hours a night of sleep, and I would drive and I would do the morning show. And I always thought that I was doing it so I could get ahead in radio, but eventually, and it took me a long freaking time to figure this out. I was doing it because I loved it, and it made me better at this kind of stuff, right? And again, I started doing comedy in '07, and I didn't really realize what my comedic voice was until years and years and years into doing comedy. I'm like, oh, it's just the radio. That's all it is. So if I could do crowd work and I can talk and I can have some bits, but I can keep stories and bits loaded up, and I can ask you a question. Oh, well, now I'll transition that into a bit, and you don't realize that I'm transitioning it into a bit. You think I'm just riffing, and maybe I am riffing. You don't know. And that's the whole deal with radio, is that I'm going to steer it into this thing I know is funny, and maybe not, but I'll talk my way into it. And all those years I was going to the radio for free, hating myself and hating everything. I was just, it was class, it was school, it was college. I learned more over, I mean, literally from '04 to 17, I was in a morning show, right? So I learned more doing that than I ever would have in college, which I did go to college for radio too. But anyway, but that's my point, is like, one of the hardest things in comedy is finding your voice.
Right.
And for years and years and years, I was like, I don't know what my voice is. I'm never going to find my voice. And it wasn't until like I was at a pizza shop drunk, and you're probably going to hear the trangs. I live in a real nice neighborhood. Literally, every time I try to record a podcast, it's a damn Johnny Cash song outside my window. So I'm sorry if you have to edit this out.
I kind of love it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Casually hearing the train tracks. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Casually living in the best neighborhoods in Illinois. But all of that time that I was doing that stuff, I realized that that was my voice. And now it's been really fun the last few years. I can actually do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I always enjoy when you're on stage. My favorite moment, because you've been performing in Illinois, you also perform on the Missouri side. And there was one night we were both at a club here in O'Fallon, Missouri, called Backdoor Comedy and Events.
Oh,
and
yeah. I love that club.
Yeah, we were there. I think I was like somewhere in the middle. And then I was like, I'm just going to hang out and watch the rest of the show. And I remember it was like super warm there one night because it was like a warm summertime show. And you were the last one on stage. And it was perfect because there was a guy that was sitting in the front, and he had some like t-shirt on, like not in the mood for your statism or something. And people were kind of ripping on him, obviously, because like he wasn't really having fun or like laughing the entire show, obviously. And then you went up and you're like, I think like you said something like, I'm just going to like rip this guy to pieces or something. And I was like, go for it. So I'm like standing there with my makers. Like, I'm ready for this show. And you did. Like, you told me it was going to happen, and you followed through. You succeeded. He had his wife there too, and she was like kind of like your standard blonde, like. And I think you like you called her a Southern belle, and you're like, oh, if I do declare. And it was just so good. Where do you think, I mean, like, I know we just talked about radio, but where do you think that confidence comes from for you getting on stage and just really casually not giving a shit what anybody else is saying or feeling, and making it so fun and enjoyable?
Well, man, I really appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I've been doing it for 14 years. So that's where a lot of that comes from. Also radio, and also the fact that, again, I mean, dude, for how many years? What did I say? 13 years. I went out, and even when I was the lead guy on the morning show, I did stunts. So I would go out and pretend I was from Germany and interact with people and try to make them say funny things, but not realize that so that walking that line, right? But, just stupid stuff all the time. So really, and again, I was broke. One time I did a stunt on the radio station. So Twitch is the main guy on the morning show. He still is. And he said, hey, I just watched this episode of CSI, right? And and on the episode, a guy jumped in a dryer and he spun around a few times. And I think it'd be funny if you did that. And I said, well, is that safe? And he said, I don't know. I think the guy died or whatever, but I think it'd be funny. So So I get in my car, a crappy, I mean, man, this car had everything wrong with it. And I drive to the laundromat, and I made the mistake of going to a laundromat that was in a bad neighborhood where somebody had just gotten shot the day before. So everybody was a little on edge, right?
Ooh.
And I pull up to the laundromat and my car dies. But I'm not going to focus on this. I have to do my stunt. So I walk inside. And again, I've done ridiculous stuff over the years. I've done so many stupid stunts. I had the police called me when I was doing street magic at Starbucks one time. That's all yeah, I got up on a chair in the Starbucks and I went, I'm going to levitate. And I just jumped off and the chair slid back and hit the wall. And I went, mind freak. And they were like, you got to get the F out of here, right? So I did that and I pull up and the car is dead. So I'm like, well, I got to go in and do the stunt. But again, this is so innocuous. This isn't me getting the police called on me on Starbucks. I remember one time I gave away Carrot Top tickets. And this is how much we thought this through. I was 18. This is 2004. This is so stupid. The idea was to walk into a freaking bank, okay? A bank, take off my shirt, and I would have tickets and other prizes on pieces of paper and they'd be attached to pieces of duct tape. And there'd be duct tape on my bare chest. And the gag was, hey, do you want some? Rip it off and then you get right. Well, we didn't think what would happen if I go into a bank and take off my shirt and go, lift it up. And I've got duct tape all over me. They think I'm going to blow the freaking place up. This is 3 years after 9/11, right? Yes.
Mm-hmm. That was literally my first thought, Kyle. I was like, when did this take place? And when? I was getting worried, and I was completely correct. But go ahead.
No, you were. So the police are called because they think there's going to be a terrorist attack in a bank in Lexington. And so my point is, after all of this, I didn't think that walking into a laundromat saying, can I jump in the dryer would be a big deal. I wasn't worried about it. So I go in, but again, the woman realizes that somebody had just been shot a couple of nights before. And all I go is, hey, do you mind if I jump in the dryer? And she grabs a baseball bat and she's like, I'm caught. Can we cuss on this or can we not?
That's fine. Yep.
Is that fine?
Oh yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Okay. She goes, I'm calling the fucking police. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm like for asking if I could jump in the dryer. So I'm on the phone. And again, this is live radio. This is when radio is the best thing ever. I'm on the phone and I go, bro, she's calling the police. And he goes, get the fuck out of there. And I'm like, my car broke down. I can't. So she, so the police come and then she's like, if I can press any charges, I'm pressing all the charges. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what did I do? But thankfully, we talked her down. And then here's the kicker of this story. She goes, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I was just a little nervous. But yeah, I listen to you guys all the time. What? Like that shows you the disconnect that people have between hearing a voice and then seeing something in person. I'll give you an example of that right now. One of the first stunts we ever did was called Good Samaritan. And the question was, so we had another intern. His name was Todd. Okay. And again, this is a relic of a different time. Maybe we won't laugh. Maybe we'll all shudder. His name on the show was Retod. Ha ha ha. It got laughs at the time.
At the time, yes.
So Retod is in the wheelchair. And the idea was, if I push Todd over and steal his wallet, will anybody stop and help? And I did it 3 places. I did it in front of a fancy restaurant. No one gave a shit.
Yeah.
I did it. But
I'm
eventually the last.
I'm not surprised at all.
They were all like, oh, yeah, look, that cripple boy's being assaulted. Hey, isn't this good shrimp? Num, 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 num. But I go to a street corner and I push Todd over and I grab his wallet. And it just so happened that the street corner, the light was red and there was a truck and he was looking at me and a dude jumped out of the truck. And I don't know how familiar you are with old 80s action movies. This dude looked just like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look this up in a little. I'm gonna look this up after the episode, and we'll have to do a follow-up of how I felt about this story. But go ahead.
You don't know who Jean-Claude Van Damme is?
I don't know. I don't watch a lot of action movies. Surprise! Like,
I can't believe that you didn't grow up in the mountains of Appalachia in the 80s. That's unbelievable. So anyway, but this dude looks like an 80s action star, and he jumps out of the truck and he jumps on top of me. And he grabs my shirt and he cocks back his fist and he's like gonna assault me, right? And I go, assault, it would have been self-defense. Anyway, all that I can get out is, it's a radio stunt. It's a radio stunt. And he goes, oh, yeah, I'm listening to you guys. And he hops in the truck and he takes back off. And it's like,
what?
So this dude was literally listening to the show, but his brain wouldn't connect that. Well, it just so happens the stunt that we're doing, no, that really is a guy assaulting a man in a wheelchair taking his wallet. I don't know. My point in all of this is that if you can do this on the air, whatever you do on stage is bullshit, right? Like you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
Oh no, that actually answered my question. And then all the stories you shared, that was when you were in Lexington.
Yeah, that was when I was. Yeah, that was
okay. So this was when you were first starting out. So that was my. So you come to Springfield, and now what station are you with now?
99.7 The Mix.
Okay.
It's 90s 2K in today.
Okay, so this is what I want to know. So with radio, obviously, and I listen because when I drive to work every morning, I listen to a lot of radio in the morning. It's the same thing you talked about. Like there's prank phone calls, second date update, first date follow up. War of the Roses, and it is addicting. You are glued in. Like at first I'm like, this is and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god, that makes sense actually. And then you start listening in, and obviously it's to get attention and whatnot, just like what you were doing for when you were in Lexington. Are you doing the same stunts maybe that you were doing when you were younger now? Or do you feel like there's a transition in your voice in radio now that you're in a different place and a different stage of your life? What was that like transitioning into a different station in a different chapter?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely, so here's the deal. I'm definitely on a different format now.
Okay.
So, because I'm, it's soccer moms who are... So I think if I were to be like, hey, if I push over this guy in a wheelchair, will anybody fight me? I don't think soccer moms, although hilariously enough, women of that age really do love that kind of radio, but not necessarily in the format that I'm in. So it is different though, and it really is different transitioning from. I mean, literally, we were, we were doing bits called lap dance distraction trivia, where I would get a lap dance and be asked history questions and I would try to answer it. And it's harder than you think. It really is. But so it's hard to transition from that to that's Justin Bieber. But I don't know. That's almost like that's the challenge and that's the fun of it for me. But it's also why I love doing my podcast, because the podcast is the most opposite of that you could possibly be.
Yeah,
which is
talk
fun.
About that. What's your podcast? Can we find it anywhere? What's it about? Tell us everything.
You can't find it anywhere. You got to call me and I'll.
You can follow him. Follow him at Funny Man Fields. There you go.
You can't. No, it's called the Obtuse Angles Podcast. We've done 350 episodes so far. Just recorded the last one tonight.
Wow.
Well, not last one so far. Thank you. It's quite an accomplishment going so many years without getting paid a nickel. It really is. That's we just got picked up, by the way. We just finally got picked up by iHeartMedia. So please download all of the episodes and
congratulations.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. No, it's really gratifying because legit, we started doing this one in 2014 or 15, I think. Okay. And then it was 3 months ago that we got a message like, hey, do you want to be a part of this and you'll actually get paid? So it was pretty cool. It's really
like mind blowing. Yeah, I got
it. Yeah, no, dude, no, it really, and especially because like it's the thing where somebody just saw us and asked like, oh my God, this never really happens, right? So that was super cool.
Yeah.
But Obtuse Angles originally, so I'm a former independent professional wrestler. I'm not saying I accomplished anything or was very good, but I loved it. Like I love your look. Like you, hold on, wait a minute.
I didn't know Yes. I mean, I can't really wrestle anybody. I mean, I guess if you got me really upset, but I haven't had that opportunity yet. Someday in the future.
I thought you were going to say, I guess if you got me really drunk, I could throw hands.
Well,
but I don't.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I honest to God, above anything, above comedy or performing or anything, my greatest passion is professional wrestling.
Okay.
I'm serious.
I like the Bella twins, so I'm on board. There you go.
The Bella twins were two very beautiful ladies who I would, if you guys are, I know I'm married. If you guys are listening, you want to call, come on, baby. If my wife is listening, you understand, right? She does. She's already in the process of leaving me. No, I love wrestling, and I'm the commissioner of a wrestling company in Oregon, Illinois, Zawa. Yeah.
Okay.
I also do commentary for them. So if you like wrestling, check it out. My dad's very proud. I do a lot of stuff that I make very little money, but I get paid in drugs. I'm sorry.
Every father's dream. Go ahead. Yes.
So, yeah. Dude, my dad wouldn't know how to spell podcast, let alone download one. So I think I'm fine.
Right.
But so we were both independent pro wrestlers. And I thought, again, this is years ago. I thought, man, no one is really doing topic driven podcasts when it comes to wrestling, right? At the time, everyone was doing like, well, I'm going to interview this guy. I'm going to interview that guy. And I thought, well, we're two comedians. We're two wrestlers. Let's do the worst wrestling storylines of all time. Because when it comes to wrestling, it's theater. It's very physical. It's demanding. But it's theater, and it can misfire in spectacular ways.
Sure.
I mean, some hilariously stupid wrestling angles and stuff like that. So we started doing it, and after a couple of years, something happened where a guy named Conrad Thompson created a whole podcasting network. Where he makes millions of dollars a year doing topic-driven wrestling material. So I was right, but I might have not had the reach that he did, and he's amazing too. I check out his stuff. But anyway, we transitioned from that to more pop culture and true crime. And that's what we're doing now. The last episode was Black Friday murders and deaths. Yeah, like the people who have died during Black Friday, trampled, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And every year for the past several years, we do something called Macabre Month. I know I'm mispronouncing it. Calm down. It was a joke kind of early on. And I said, well, we'll call it Macabre Month, and it's going to be 4 or 5 straight episodes of serial killers, Ted Bundy, blah, blah, blah. And, and it's our best month that we have every year, but I'd love that inevitably someone always calls, or, they call me, they email and go, hey man, I didn't want to say anything, but you're pronouncing it wrong, right? Yeah. I know.
Don't you love when people just offer up information? You're like, I'm already there.
Yeah, man. I laughed yesterday. It was a screenshot of an old Onion article, but I laughed really hard to the point where it woke my wife up, and she told me to quote, calm down. It was, it said, man always gets little rush out of telling people John Lennon beat his wife.
And she's like, calm down, Kyle.
Yeah, well, I'm laughing at my eye. Yeah, because that's I told you so. Anyway, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I've made this episode very easy for you. I won't shut the fuck up. So
I actually love it. No, this is exactly what I want. We're showcasing your radio talents, your comedic talents. I've also learned, we always casually learn something on these. I did not know that you did commentary for wrestling. And I didn't know that you were into wrestling. So, I should have known. Typical white guy from Springfield, Illinois, probably should have known.
No, typical white guy in his 30s from Kentucky.
Oh,
yeah.
And the wind, just if I could lick it, if we were outside, it would be done. I love it though.
I grew up in Appalachia. I literally grew up in the mountains. Like I grew up in a trailer in Appalachia. So if I didn't like wrestling, there would be like something really weird or askew. Yeah.
So, I was a theater person, so that's why I have an appreciation for it, because I know that there's acting and writing, and I actually saw when Raw Live. This was like a few years ago, so this is Well, you know what? I'm 31 now. I shouldn't even say it's a few. It was in my early 20s. I saw Raw. It came here, and I loved seeing it live because then you saw all like this, like, I don't know the exact terminology, but I love seeing like all the stage management and the cues and the calls.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you're watching it on live
Yeah.
TV, I think sometimes there's a stereotype of just being like, oh, it's just wrestling. It's just people yelling.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's why it's such a multi-million-dollar industry, because there is so much thought and, you know, planning and process into it. Unfortunately, sometimes when things are live, just like when you're doing comedy or theater or anything else that's in front of a live audience, things can go wrong. People can get injured. It does happen. But I do love seeing stuff like that live and seeing the way the audience is excited about it and how pumped it. So I appreciate and respect it too. So, but anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I completely agree with you. And I think it's one of those things where, you know, I've had a lot of friends throughout my life in theater, because I've done theater, I've done plays and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
And they kind of, you know, it's not that necessarily theater people are also wrestling fans, but there's so much of an intersection.
Yes.
There really is, because people, I know this, if you've never seen it, if you've never really been involved, if you never enjoyed it, I can understand. You go, well, it's just some redneck shit where two people are fake fighting, right? Like, but
Yeah.
it's so much more than that. It really is characters, and again, what I find far more interesting than the fact that, you know, the match is 100% choreographed from A to Z, which on the rarest of occasions does happen. It's not that. It is improvisation. It's physical improvisational theater.
Yes.
And that's super fucking fascinating to me, right?
Mhm.
Like the fact that, especially if it's like a live TV show and you want to talk about stage management, like essentially if like you were wrestling, let's say Tony, right? Like if you guys were having a match and I were to say, hey, Molly, you and Tony, you're going to get 6 minutes. Tony's going to go over with the finisher, and that's it, right? And then it's going to be up to you and Tony, and if it's WWE, a producer, to sit down and think about, well, how's this match going to go down? We have 6 minutes. Tony's going over with her finisher. What's the story? And just like most theaters or plays, 90% of the time, at the very least, there is a formula to it. And then when you invert the formula, it becomes more surprising and stuff like that. But there's usually the shine, which means the baby face or the good guy gets the offense in, crowd's happy. Then the heel is going to take over. The heel's the bad guy. They're usually going to cheat. So in simplistic purposes, poke you in the eye, then take over. And they're going to cheat and they're going to choke you and they're going to break the rules and the ref ain't looking. And then there's going to be a couple of hope spots or a false comeback where, again, you're the heel. We know that. You're the bad guy. Everybody knows that. And then Tony is the baby face, the good guy. And a couple times Tony's going to fire up on you and give you some shots and the crowd's going to go crazy and she'll hit a sunset flip. But then what are you going to do? You're going to cut her off by, if you're good, cheating. Boom, and the crowd's going, God damn it, we want Tony to win. And then finally, if the baby face goes over, if the good guy wins, Tony is going to beat you when you slip on a banana peel. You make a mistake, and then Tony maybe beats you with your own medicine. 1, 2, 3. Now, again, there's a million different ways to take that and change it and fuck it up and all that. But that is the basic formula of a wrestling match, and having that in your head, you just like a joke, right? What is a joke? A setup, a punchline, a tag,
Yes.
yada 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 yada, right? Same deal. And you're going to sit with Tony. Now, again, if you guys are planning a match, you're not going to necessarily say we're going to do this and this and this and this, but you're going to know the beginning. You're going to know what goes into the heat, how you fuck up, how Tony gets to it, and then you're going to know the comebacks, and you're going to know when to go home, and then that's going to be it. And then you're listening to the crowd for the rest of the time, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to know when to hit her, when to make her come back. And that is the rush and the thing that makes wrestling so beautiful and interesting. And I think a lot of people don't give it credit for, in that it's not just, okay, we're going to do this fake fight. It's an art form. And it's, I don't know, I love it. I think it's super crazy. It's awesome.
And I love, you answered exactly the next question I was going to ask too, is how I was like, do you feel like it kind of resembles comedy a little bit with that preparation?
Yes.
And that's what you said, just because, everything, about comedy, we can't do it unless we have an audience reaction. And I do feel like wrestling would be the same thing. So your whole world, Kyle, really just ties it all together. Your radio, your wrestling, your comedy,
right. Thank you.
You know,
man, dude. So a lot of comedy is self-promotion and again, I'm sorry to be graphic, sucking yourself off. Unfortunately, when it comes to social media and comedy, it's sucking yourself off. Oh, I got this new bit, you guys got to check it out. Oh, I killed, not, you don't want to say you killed. Oh, I went here and I did this, and you're right, but I don't like, I have like these thoughts in my head, and it's so awesome that you say, hey, Kyle, it's like, bro, I think this shit, but I don't want to be like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Well, that's what I'm here for. I have to interview people, and then I just tie it all together, and I'm like, this is what's casually happening, right? But it's kind of what we,
it is.
Yeah.
No, well, it is, and that's why I think so many wrestlers become comedians, and so many people who love wrestling love comedy, and that's why, like, when I really talk about comedy to people who also are wrestlers or at least understand wrestling, I use wrestling terms, and that's kind of how I view my set is. And again, I'm not saying that's the only way to do comedy. Obviously it isn't. The vast majority of people have an hour and they know every fucking beat from A to Z, and that's awesome, and that's great. But for me, to me, the art is, I know where I'm going to start, I know where I'm going to end, just like wrestling. I know some high spots in between. Let's just figure it out and figure out how we get there. And then I'll talk to you, and I know that I got my high spots, right? And I'm going to, maybe I talk to you and it doesn't go so hot. I can use my little trick to make your thing seem interesting. And then guess what? I'm going to go into my bit, but I'm not going to go into a bit. I'm going to make it seem like I transitioned into that bit. You see what I'm saying? And then,
all
like,
about
let's
the
say,
magic, baby. Yep.
No, it is, man. And honestly, when it comes to crowd work, and this is something that I figured, I'm just drunk enough to talk about this, by the way, is and again, I've never heard anybody fucking say this, and maybe someone's going to listen to this and go, oh yeah, you figured it out 15 years in, you idiot. I create characters in the crowd, right? So I start, I do my thing, I talk to you, I give you a nickname, I give you a character, I move on, and maybe I figure out your relationship with this other person, and then I create that. And if I keep going and creating characters in the crowd, and then if a joke doesn't hit, guess what? I've got a whole safety net of characters I've created, because crowd work works so easy if you just give them a little fucking bit. So my joke doesn't work, boom, what about Molly? Ha ha ha, right? And then we fucking move on. I don't know, I love it. That's the thrill to me. But it's like wrestling. It's like wrestling.
Well, I was going to say, that's what I was mentioning earlier, is that you are really comfortable with crowd work. So you explaining that actually gives me an insight into your mind and how that works. Because sometimes I feel like crowd work, you really have to have an art to it. Like, I feel like that's something I haven't mastered. And I think I fall into that same trap sometimes where you talk to people. It's like, so what do you do? Oh, you're in finance, right? You're a banker, and then it starts getting like old. It's not funny. And I'm like, are we just ripping? That's why I don't really talk to the crowd a lot, because I'm just insulting a person rather than having fun in the first place. Yeah.
And here's the mistake that people make. And I swear, I say this on other podcasts, and my wife goes, why are you telling people this?
It's like, and honey, have you seen a comedy show? Thank you.
Well, no.
And
but
I
it's
mean
like,
that in a loving way. It's,
no. Absolutely. But I think that what she's saying is like, I should at least be making a living as a full-time comedian before I start. Do you know what I'm saying? Here's what I've learned over 15 years. I spent 15 years learning this, but you could go ahead and hear it. Shit, I'm sorry. This is the first time I lost my train of thought. What was I getting at? Please tell me.
I was talking about crowd work and how people are, myself included, are like, what do you do?
Thank you. So when it comes to crowd work, the mistake people make is they box themselves into a box, right? Like, you go, where do you work? And then in your head, you panic and go, well, I got to make this one thing funny. No, you don't. No, you can kind of, whatever they say, you can transition that to something with the person next to them, like oh, blah blah blah. Is that what made you guys hook up together? You were impressed he was a tax, you know what I'm saying? Blah, blah,
I've seen you
right?
do this, yes.
Right. So, and the more you do it, the funny things you remember, right? So let's say 2 years ago, this fucking killed. well, now I got this. But even if you don't have this, best case scenario, they say a thing, you rip off something funny, they laugh, you keep it in your head forever. If not, no big fucking deal. And guess what? And people don't realize this. Ask another fucking question. Calm the fuck down. Right? You don't have to go, where do you work? What's funny about it? No, fuck it. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. And where are you from? Bingo. That's it. That's fucking it. That's it. People panic. Don't fucking panic. It's you. They don't fucking know. And when it comes to laughs with crowd work, it's a sliding fucking scale. Like if they realize that you wrote something, it's got to be clever. It's got to be funny. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. They know what's real in the fucking room. They know that. Even if they don't, like, I know the illusion is, I'm just riffing all this shit. No, they fucking know you're not. Right? That's why crowd work fucking works, because if you talk to them, they go, this motherfucker really, he didn't write that. And maybe you fucking did, but they don't know that. Boom. Right? That's the magic trick. That's the magic trick of the shit. And people always say, crowd work is part of their tricks. No, it's fucking not, because it does come with a lot of riffing, but that's what makes it exciting. And that's because you have a safety net. You create your own safety net. You know where you can go, but while you're doing it, fucking really go at it, hit them with something, right? I'm getting drunk and excited. I apologize.
No, but it's a good thing. When we were listening to a podcast, especially people listening, do you always want to, and sometimes it does get casually serious on here and we have some really heart to heart, but I do like that you're mentioning all these points and you have a lighthearted attitude about it. So especially for people like listening to it in your car, that's what we're kind of going for, casually have a light personality, have a good time with it. But there's a lot of things, like I said, I've learned about you. This is why I love doing this podcast, is I learned about you.
Right.
Like, we've been friends for a while now, and I didn't even know some of these interests. But then again, I feel like what happens in comedy is, like, we just talked about this earlier too, how, we look at everybody's feed. And again, this is also talking about myself. Everybody, we have to post. It's like social media is like a thing. It's, I've got this episode out. I've got the show. Watch us kill it this weekend, all.
Man.
And I feel like that's been, how not that, we just never really got to have like a meaningful conversation. So I feel like it was kind of cool that we've gotten to sit down. And I've always been like, oh, Kyle's so fun. I like him. But now I feel like I've learned so much about you. And I hope everybody else who listened felt the same way or watched. What I will ask is, you've obviously given a lot of great advice, but what I always ask at the end of each episode, what kind of casual advice would you give for somebody who is maybe pursuing radio or comedy, or, somebody who maybe sees themselves in you? What advice would you give them, or maybe something now you didn't know early on?
My radio advice would be, don't get the fuck out. I'm only serious. Don't do it. Comedy, man, it's funny because when I first started doing comedy in 2007, comedy podcasts weren't really a thing yet. And it's interesting because people start doing comedy now with far more knowledge than I had when I started. And again, I'm not going to say like, oh, I tried so hard. I mean, I never stopped doing comedy, but I could have been so much smarter about absorbing more information. It's like everything I have, I fucking learned myself, which is fine, but I just wish I would have, I don't know. But again, comedy is, and I tell people this, comedy is like sex. You only get better at it by doing it. You can read about sex, you can watch sex, you can hear about sex. When you have sex, you're like, what do I do? Oh my, right? At least that was me. That was my first time. Oh my God, there's two of them. No, but it's like that, man. You can only get better at it by doing it. But legitimately, I would listen to advice. But here's the thing. This is my pet peeve when it comes to comedy. And if I could give anybody my big, broad fucking advice when it comes to comedy for everybody is, and by everybody, I mean, I say under me, who've done less than me. I'm not talking about Chris Rock, Louis. Yeah, Chris Rock. You listen to me, goddammit. I got some things to tell you.
People who are starting out. I gotcha. Yeah.
The misconception is these people are here to hear my great, interesting, intelligent, funny takes on these things. And again, I don't know. I don't want anyone to go, oh, he does crowd work, so he's shitting on bits. I'm not.
I don't think you are either. No.
Right.
And you've also done bits too, by the way. If anybody,
I do.
Yeah.
No, I do, and I've got literally, I've got a lot of fucking material, but it's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like if I can do what I want to do. If I go to a buffet, am I going to eat the salad or am I going to eat the fried chicken? You know what I'm saying? The crowd work is the fried chicken, but but so when you start comedy, do those things, but they want to think this is real. They want to think it's a living, breathing thing. Just do a little thing in the middle of your bit to make them think that maybe you're thinking of it on the fly. You're not just going ba da 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 da, right? You're not. No, this is a thing, and maybe even like stop in the middle of it and look at the person and be like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Just add a little thing, and that shatters that. It shatters that imaginary fourth wall, and it makes them think this is something that's real and live in the moment. And if you can do that, you're so fucking far ahead of so many other people. That's my advice when it comes to comedy.
Absolutely. I thank you so much for sharing that. I also want to talk about too, real quickly, what shows do you have coming up that you want us to hear about as well?
Absolutely. It's funny.
Let me get out my phone and my planner.
We talked earlier about how I'm good at a few things in comedy, except when it comes to the promotion. I just get, because I used to be good at it, but it's like after 14 years, I don't give a shit. Like everybody who knows me knows I do it. They've seen my shit. They don't care. No one fucking cares. I see the young people in comedy who are like, oh, you need to come out. And it's like, man, I wish that used to be me. But now it's like, no one gives a shit.
But I kind of like it, though. You're not up anybody's ass. You're like, here's what I'm doing. This is what I need. At least not that I know. Right. But, no. At least not tonight while we're recording. Hey. But on a serious note, what are you doing so people know?
On a serious note, whose ass are you up? I've got December. Go ahead. December 4th in my phone, it says Jesse Show. So that's going to be at some place in the Champaign area.
Jesse's Show? Oh my God.
It's the Tuttles, the Champaign. The Tuttles, CU Comedy, check them out. They have amazing shows. Gotcha. I tell you, if you like this, December 4th, if you're in the Champaign area, there you go. Also, we can't forget about September 10th, Friday, September 10th, Kyle Fields and Friends.
Wait, excuse me, did you say September 10th?
December 10th.
I was like, are we already in September of 2022? Oh my gosh. Okay, December 10th. I'm sorry.
Here's the funny thing, Molly. When you smoke a lot of weed and you drink, you can do a really good job of fooling people, but there will be clues.
Oh my God, we're like dying. I'm so sorry if anybody's listening this to audio and they just hear us laughing and coughing. And I'm like, excuse me, did you just say September 10th? December 10th, where are we?
December 10th, it's going to be Kyle Fields and Friends. You can figure that out by hitting me up on Twitter at Funny Man Fields. And of course, we have December 18th. That's a Saturday. On my phone, it says Jacksonville Donnie B gig. So I'll be working for Donnie B in Jacksonville, Illinois.
Wait, where's your Kyle Fields and Friends going to be? We didn't say that.
Well, yeah. Thank you for picking up on that.
And this is why down. Kyle earlier was like, you're so good at promotion. Now I'm like, let's break this down.
Kyle Fields and Friends is going to be at the Luna Lounge. That's going to be December 10th, starting at 8 o'clock in Cesar, Illinois.
Okay, gotcha. There we go.
It's on Franklin Street. There you go.
Gotcha.
Didn't think I know the street, did you? Well, I did. If you'd like to listen to any of my episodes of the podcast, the Obtuse Angles podcast, it's #evergreen, man. It's all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, true crime. Obtuse Angles. go ahead and search for that. And man, it would just be great if you go ahead and download all of our episodes. That would at least give me a few bucks in my pocket. It's great though. You'll love it.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Okay, so we got December 4th, December 10th, and then what was the last one? December 18th? Hold on, pull out your phone one more time. Just
love you, Molly. No, it's not. Hold on, wait a minute. Absolutely. And hey, don't forget about the big show coming up on December 31st, where I literally just have in my phone wrestling. So it's going to be comedy and wrestling.
If anyone got any of this, just follow Funny Man Fields.
By the way, I'm going to be spending the weekend at Mason City Limits Comedy Club, January 7th and 8th of next month.
Okay, there we go.
You go. Yes. And I'm going to be going to the Royal Rumble in St. Louis on January 29th. So if you guys want to
got your whole schedule. I love it. Oh my gosh. I'm like dying. We even got the podcast down. That's pretty good.
We did, man. Thank you so much. You know what? You are a great host. And thank you. No, I mean that, man. And thank you for giving so many local artists and podcasters and comedians the opportunity to come on here and, show their wares, I guess.
Yeah, well, I appreciate anybody taking a chance. It's always fun because, for people who are familiar with the podcast, if you're not familiar with it too, I always interview a variety of people, but I always get not nervous. I still have the confidence to ask people, but sometimes there's always that 1% where you're like, what if they say no? So when I asked you, I was like, what if he says no? And you were like, yes. What are you worried about? Not even.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm a huge star. I know what you were thinking. I know you were like, this guy has made upwards of $37 on his podcast, so why would he want to come on mine? I get it.
I know that $37 is really intimidating, Kyle. I don't know.
Well, it's almost a whole month of Sling, so we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Speaking of figuring it out, go figure out how to follow the Casually Molly podcast. It's available on all streaming services. Please give us a little subscribe, maybe a review if there's an episode you liked. Just let us know which one you want to listen to more, and maybe we'll bring up more topics like this. And then, of course, Monk, who's been great. Shout out to Monk. He's been working our tech this whole time at the Casually Molly podcast, the handle that is on the YouTube channel. Just please make sure and give us also for YouTube. We are about 3 subscribers away from 100 subscribers. So just give us a little subscription and I would feel really, really good. Nothing like some good validation. I know that's kind of like a cheap joke, but I really mean it. On that note, I'm
not trying to
validated.
Brag.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to brag, but I think Two Singles has 101 on YouTube.
Oh,
yeah.
We're catching up.
How long have you been on YouTube?
So I have been on YouTube since the middle of the pandemic. So around maybe March 2020.
Okay. All right. Well, I've been on for 7 years. So there. So not to brag, but you're kind of dancing with the big boys.
Oh, good. I can't wait. I love it. Well, now that we've ended our episode, I always ask this one last question. What are you going to do now that our apps episode is casually over? What are you going to casually do now?
Well, it's going to be, first of all, obviously when I go on the street, they're going to say, hey, wait a minute. Were you the guy from the Casually Molly podcast? And I'm going to say, Dad, it's me. Come on.
Right.
I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to, so my wife is out of town. She's dealing with some family business, which means I'm going to get drunk and play video games.
All right.
I got a pretty cool life. I'm pretty cool.
I love it. My boyfriend is still at home, so I'm going to go casually eat some dinner with him. And
what are you going to eat? Do you know what the dinner is?
I have no idea, but I will say this. He actually cooked, which for people who don't know, my boyfriend, his name is Jimmy, and he's a comedian here in St. Louis. But he called me before this, and I was like, hey, I'm at the studio. Is something wrong? And he's like, oh, no, I cooked dinner, and I just wanted to know when you were coming home. And I was like, oh. Well, that's nice. I was like,
dinner,
right? I was like, that's thoughtful.
Did you ask? Did you ask what it was?
You know what? I didn't. I should have asked.
What? Oh my God! It could have been pizza rolls, for God's sake. Wow. Now, Jimmy, is he a chef? Is he a food connoisseur?
You know, I gotta give it Chef Day. He is pretty good. When I first met him, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like that's why I kind of like didn't date for a long time, because I was always around people that were like, oh, you gotta make a good crock pot recipe for your man. I was like, I can't do this. And like, luckily he's not like, we both use crock pots, but for entirely just like, you know, just for when we have to make big meals to like supply everything for the week, but no one's like thoroughly impressed that we threw some food and misery into a pot.
You're like, I make bathtub hooch in mine. He actually makes some stews and shit.
I'm like, I'm just gonna throw some vegetables in here, call it a day. But yeah, he like really takes the time. Like he'll put on a pot roast, and he really thinks about it. And then now that we've got now that I've really taught him what silverware is and like actual plating and stuff, he's really started to get a little fancy on me. And I'm like, oh, we have a salad dish, a main course meal. It's kind of insane, but I'm very lucky.
So you're saying that he was a good cook, but you taught him that it could go in other things that weren't like
a paper plate. Yeah.
I taught him silverware. Like he was raised by monkeys in the jungle. I taught him how to use a toilet.
I think I just taught him how to live with a woman, but it's fine. But I love it. Are you a good chef at all? Do you like to cook anything, or are you just a pizza roll kind of man?
I'm not kidding, man. I can totally make some ramen with the best of them. I mean, I think that I know. I'm really. I mean, I could cook some steak. I love making eggs, and I can make if I can make the lumberjack specials, right? I can make some damn good eggs and pancakes and Fruit Loops and shit like that. But I mean, aside from that, no, it's no. I'm not Chef Day, as you were to say.
But you are Chef Fields, and I won't hold you up any longer from some food, some video game time, and just some relaxation. Right.
Yeah, I got some pretty stale Pop-Tarts waiting on me, so we'll see.
Well, we wouldn't want to leave them waiting. So it's one last question. And I know I said that earlier, but you've had me intrigued. What's your favorite Pop-Tart flavor? What are we going towards? Because I'm a strawberry gal. I haven't had one forever.
A strawberry gal. Whoa, hot take. Hot take. Whoa. What is your favorite Beatles album? Sgt. Pepper? Whoa. What's your favorite McDonald's burger? A Big Mac? Whoa. No, so the strawberry, obviously, it's fine. It's fine. It's a lukewarm take. There's a lot going on. So if you're a true Pop-Tarts aficionado, you want to go to Big Lots. Why do you go to Big Lots? I'll tell you why. Because the more exciting, ambitious flavors didn't sell well, and you got to get them at Big Lots 2 weeks before they grow stale. So there's a lot of great stuff there. The pumpkin pie, they try every year, and it doesn't sell, but I buy it.
No.
Well, come on, see, but no. Did you try it? Did you try the pumpkin pie?
I didn't need to.
I didn't need to. You know what my favorite was? And they don't make it anymore. And it was around for a sliver in the 90s, and it went away like that. It's got to be the vanilla. How you go, vanilla? Don't knock it until you tried it. It was fantastic and beautiful and well, yeah. So there you go.
All right. Well, the next time I see you, if I can find you a vanilla Pop-Tart, I think we'll be best friends forever.
Dude, well, first of all, it's going to be about 20 years old. But if you can.
See if they maybe brought it back.
Do you like the toaster strudels? Is the toaster strudel your thing? Come on. You know, you put it in the deal and you write your name in the little cream.
Yeah, I actually used to do that when I was little. So, yes, I used to have the toaster strudels.
I'm sorry. I'm a child. I'm a damn child. I apologize. I was easy. It was like, because you were Molly, Mollie. I was 4 damn letters. I had to put my name in a fucking happy face and a star at the end of it. Shit.
You had room for emojis before we knew what those were. So you started it. Yeah. You started the trend.
I'm waiting on my check. Mark Zuckerberg. Wait till I'm drinking. Mark Zuckerberg.
That's right. We'll get that from iHeartMedia. It's going to be okay. Now that you're picked up, it's all going to be covered.
Yeah.
Oh,
Damn
bye.
right.
I gotta go, but I love you. Thank you so much for coming on. You've been awesome.
I love you. Thank you. You've been awesome.
You've been great. And tell Tony hi for me. She's gonna love this
I
when
will.
this comes out.
Yeah, she's gonna listen to it, and she's gonna be upset that you didn't invite her to the show and you came to Springfield.
Well, she has been on this show though. She was one of our first virtual guests, so she'll have to tell you a little bit about that, or you guys can look it up. I forget the name of the exact episode, but I'll share it underneath everything. But just look up Tony Roper.
That's a Kyle Fields plug right there. You can Google it yourself.
Oh my gosh. I've had a lot of good laughs on this episode. I'm really excited for this to come out. All right, bye friend. Have a good rest of your night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye everybody. Thank you.